And welcome. It's Monday, 16th June 2025. Mental health is real. Seek help. End the stigma. On the news this evening, President Tinubu to visit Benue following weekend killings. Murder case of female inspector stalls in court. Another group drags federal government to court over Rivers administrator's appointment. On the foreign scene, no further damage seen at Iran nuclear sites. I am Constance Irele Mega. The news continues after this break. To stay tuned. And now the news in detail. President Bola Tinubu says he will clear his schedule to pay a condolence visit to the people of Benue State on Wednesday. The planned visit follows the killing of scores of people in two communities in the state on Saturday. The president announced this during the inauguration of Greater Abuja Water Network today in the FCT.
Why I sympathize with the Benue people, I've spoken to the governor. I sympathize those who have lost their life. I will adjust my program and go see Benue people on Wednesday.
Well, the president also urged Benue residents to live in harmony and embrace peace.
The leadership and people of Benue should accept our condolences and tried hard, very, very consciously, to maintain peace, harmony among themselves. I've always said this, that we are one single huge family living in the same house, stay in different rooms, but living together in harmony will be the result of our diversity for prosperity. We should be able to manage our anger and frustrations.
Well, later, a statement said President Tinubu during his stay is expected to meet with all stakeholders, including traditional rulers, political, religious, community leaders, and youth groups to seek lasting solutions to the hostilities. The statement said in preparation for the visit, President Tinubu has already dispatched the secretary to the states, to the government of the federation, heads of intelligence agencies, the National Security Advisor, and the chairman of the Senate and House Defense Committees to Benue State. While the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Igbetoku, is already in Benue State. As you may know, on Saturday night in Yelewata and Dawudu communities in Guma local government area, herdsmen killed several people, including women and children, in their homes. Now, a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Gwaza Madaki, has criticized the absence of military intervention during the attack in Benue State, noting that the location is right by the roadside. While speaking on Arise Television, Mr. Madaki expressed deep grief and anger, questioning how such an incident could occur near a military checkpoint, which he says makes the lack of response even more troubling.
description. It is painful. It is a time of sorrow for our people. More so that this is not the first time, and particularly painful because the place where this occurred is one that ordinarily we would think is protected. Yelwata is a border town between Benue and Nasarawa states, and at that border town there is a military checkpoint that has been there for at least 5 years. This military checkpoint is populated with not less than 15 soldiers, but there is a permanent feature of the Nigerian army located in Yelwata. So it becomes difficult to understand how these attacks would go on and last for hours all the way to the early mornings without any intervention.
In the meantime, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, says over 6,500 people have been displaced in Benue State following coordinated attacks by unidentified gunmen in the state. NEMA, in a post on X, says the attacks have triggered a humanitarian crisis with over 1,000 households comprising breastfeeding mothers, pregnant women and elderly persons rendered homeless. The agency says the casualty figures of last Saturday's attack remain inconsistent due to the volatile security situation and limited access to affected areas. It, however, said ongoing rescue and recovery operations are expected to provide more accurate figures. And now to Rivers State, where the trial of 12 suspects accused of killing a female police inspector, Christiana Erekere, was stalled today at the Rivers State High Court in Port Harcourt. Now, this follows the withdrawal of appearance by one of the defense lawyers, Sunday Womom, who had been representing the 9th, 11th and 12th defendants, as well as the absence of the third defense witness. Correspondent Emeka Otuka reports that the court, however, ordered Mr. Womom to continue with the case until he formally applies to the judge. This also adjourned the matter to 18th, 3rd, 20th and 27th June and 11th July. Here, Secretary Ekere is killed on April 24th, 2024 during a stop and search operation at the Taba Police Division government area. Suspects were reportedly traveling from Delta to Kwaibo, a traditional wage journey before the incident. In another development, a civil society group, for free comprehension and social integration, has filed a fresh suit at the Federal High Court challenging the legality of the National Assembly's Vice Admiral Ibokete, sole administrator of Rivers State. It also contains the National Assembly first emergency in Rivers State, including retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Bass, the Attorney General of the Federation and the National Assembly. Well, this comes weeks after all suits related to the state of emergency in the state were transferred to the Federal High Court in Abuja in line with Order 49 of the Federal High Court Civil Procedure Rules. Now, when the case came up in court today, lawyer to the plaintiff, Kingdom Chukwueze, told the court his client wants the court to examine the actions of the National Assembly based on the reliefs being sought. However, lawyer of the defendants, Ola Faro, requested more time to respond to the originating summons. In the same vein, the group, in a separate lawsuit at the same Federal High Court, is also challenging President Bola Tinubu, Attorney General of the Federation and sole administrator of Rivers State, over the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State and the suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Well, when the matter came up today in court, lawyer to the defendants, Ola Faro, informed the court that he was yet to respond to the process and requested for time, and his request was not opposed by the plaintiff's lawyer, Lezina Amegwa. The presiding judge, Justice Muhammad Turaki, after hearing from both lawyers, adjourned the matter to 21st July for hearing. Well, lawyers to the plaintiff, Kingdom Chukwueze and Lezina Amegwa, spoke to correspondent Emeka Otuka.
The frame of this suit is on the legality, constitutionality of the National Assembly ratifying the appointments of the first defendant, sole administrator, and further their constitution or empaneling of a committee to oversight the actions of the sole administrator.
This case is not for Fubara. This case is for the dignity of the office of the governor. This case is not against President Tinubu. This case is for the preservation of the spirit of constitutionality. This case isn't against Wike. This case is for the law, its tradition and precedents. And we more so tell you that every operation of the sole administrator is not recognized by the Constitution of Nigeria.
Away from that, a Lagos-based analyst, Liboros Oshoma, has described the chaos that erupted during the APC members' Northeast meeting as a recurring feature of the ruling party. In an interview with correspondent Sobi Oruwari, Oshoma spoke on the circumstances that led to the disorder, saying there is need for the APC leadership to urgently address the ongoing conflict of interest before it escalates further.
You see it with every ruling party. Call it the ruling party syndrome. And everybody wants to be the one at the front. These are signs that all is not well. But I don't see it as signs of imminent implosion, except not properly managed. That's why I said it is good that it is happening early. So if the party have their mechanism in place, then they will be able to manage it. Otherwise, some people might get angry and pull out. But what this means for party as a whole, it is even better for them now that all of these schemings and divisions are happening now. So they have a lot of time and to create platforms and opportunity to resolve.
Well, Oshoma also urged opposition political parties to capitalize on the growing internal tensions within the APC.
If the opposition is able to put its house together, then from the north, then they might be able to gather some vote. But whether the south will align a northern candidate for the opposition is a difference. It might give the opposition edge if they are able to capitalize on it from the north. When you have a splitter group who are also disgruntled and are not happy pulling out, it depends on the number that they are able to gather from there. President Jutro, he was laughing at the opposition. He loves to see them in disarray and that is not going to help them to sort out their mess. So in the same way, if the president is not able to manage his own mess in his party, then the opposition also will be very happy.
Well, recall that over the weekend, there was chaos during the APC Northwest members' meeting over claims that while the endorsement process of President Bola Tinubu, the name of the Vice President Kashim Shettima, who is from the region, was not mentioned. We'll go on a break now, but still to come, passengers decry poor hospitality, flight delays at Port Harcourt Airport. Stay tuned.
Enforcing
Passengers at the Port Harcourt International Airport, or MAGWA, have called on airline operators to invest in acquiring more aircraft to help reduce flight delays and cancellations. Speaking in an interview with our correspondent, they also criticized the poor customer service experienced while trying to obtain boarding passes, describing airline hospitality as inadequate.
Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, they should sit up. They should make sure that any aircraft that is faulty should not be put out to fly publics.
Actually, the hospitality, they need to improve. Hospitality is not good.
Casualties are always en masse if peradventure there is an incident. I've been in an aircraft before where, of course, there was turbulence. The body in charge of safety and security of airlines should do their best to ensure that air travel is safe.
These airlines, since it's being owned by individuals, should source for more carrier. They should introduce more flights so that particular airline that will do like 3 routes in order to cover up will not go down, and they will not give the other states the excuse that there is technical issue delaying flights and cancelling it.
Well, as you may know, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, has summoned the management of Air Peace Limited following multiple complaints from passengers regarding non-refunded ticket fares. A statement today by the FCCPC Director of Corporate Affairs, Ondaje Ijawu, said the non-refunded ticket fares included those of cases where the airline cancelled scheduled flights. In a formal notice dated 3rd June 2025, the Commission ordered Air Peace to appear at its Abuja headquarters next Monday to address growing public outcry and allegations of consumer rights violations. In other news, the Nigerian Railway Corporation says train operations from Port Harcourt to Aba have not been disrupted since the rehabilitated and reconstructed Port Harcourt-Maiduguri Eastern Narrow Gauge Railway project was commissioned. Spokesperson of the Port Harcourt station of the corporation, Atoyebi Samuel, made this known in an interview with correspondent Soibi Oruwari while speaking on the level of patronage since the Port Harcourt axis was commissioned.
And we have been making an impact. Passengers have been coming and they've been enjoying the train ride. The issue is that we don't operate on Mondays and Sundays. Why? Because Monday is start so much about their state, what we call POA, periodic overhauling, to see that our dogs, locomotives, all are served in preparation for Tuesday to Saturday. And the turnout here has been of great. It has been coming and passengers have been enjoying the ride. The economic class is 800, while business class is 1,500.
Mr. Samuel also said the rate of railway vandalism has reduced, and he urged passengers to avoid boarding the train without their tickets.
People boarding the train should then say the train now operation act of vandalism now has. The rate of track vandalism has reduced because they move sometimes daily, morning and evening hours, and it doesn't give them the opportunity to go there. It's a free agency also there, and they reduce them so they buy it. Just inside the train, anything that person will be there to it.
Spokesperson of the railway station also confirms that an class coach has been to the operation due to increased passenger demand.
Instead of the witness to be done now, this is they are to the side, they are the station to make a book for that business was people preferred. People prefer it, and those are the first stations too. But they are okay. When I'm going to station like my fruit garden, gas station, which is the transformer, there are people who also want to enjoy it, so they have their own location. They just go to the station very early.
Moving on, a civil society leader, Mr. Clifford Solomon, has expressed concern over the increasing volume of waste in Port Harcourt and its environs. Solomon, in an interview, urged the River State Sole Administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, to urgently declare a state of emergency on environmental sanitation to help restore Port Harcourt's garden city status, while he warned that the current level of filth poses a serious health risk to residents across the state.
Since the declaration of the state of emergency on the 18th of March 2025, the state has witnessed unredeemable refuse adorning the once garden city. It is regrettable to note that a visit to Port Harcourt now will tell negatively of the state in the environmental sanitation, even the economy of the state. A visit to Port Harcourt will suggest that there is a breakdown in governance. Dear Sharudi, therefore call on the sole administrator to, as a matter of urgent health emergency, clean up Port Harcourt and return it to its garden city status.
Well, as you may know, refuse dumps have taken over several parts of Port Harcourt, including NTA Road, Ozuoba, Choba, East-West Road, Agodama Avenue in D-Line, Akbajo, Ikoku, Oluobasanjo, and Aba Road, among others.
And now, we'll bring you news from around the world.
And on the international scene, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, Rafael Grossi, says there has been no further damage to Iran's Natanz uranium enrichment plant since Israel struck the country's nuclear sites on Friday. Rafael Grossi told the IAEA's Board of Governors that an above-ground enrichment facility at Natanz was destroyed, but that there were no signs of a physical attack at the underground facility there. Elsewhere, at least 22 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli gunfire near 8 distribution sites operated by the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Now, the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry made this known. The Israel Defense Forces told newsmen that it was examining the reports. Hundreds of Palestinians have been killed trying to get food from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation sites opened by Israel after it partially lifted a 3-month blockade. Well, that's the news. But before we go, let's take a look at the highlights. On the news this evening, you heard that President Bola Tinubu will head to Benue State on Wednesday to address the renewed crisis there. The withdrawal of lawyer and witnesses' absence stalled the murder case of female inspector in Port Harcourt. A group has filed a fresh suit against the federal government and National Assembly over Rivers administrator's appointments. And on the foreign scene, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency says no further damage seen at Iran nuclear sites. The news was edited by Martha Okere. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. I'm Constance Irele Mega. Thank you so much for listening. Good evening.
With information comes power.